Ready for takeoff.
He's Metz. He's Tass. It's the Metzger and Tassoul Show.
Okay.
We're live.
Hey.
How about that?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Feel like we've been on the show for about 15 minutes already.
Yeah. We've been trying to get this going since last Thursday when we were supposed to have the Mets Tass show.
That's right.
But let's have a great discussion because it's me, you, and Perry on today.
It's good. Let's do that. Yeah, man. I'm getting excited to leave for Cancun next week.
Yeah.
That'll be nice. Because, it's been like miserably cold here. To the point where there's been literally icicles hanging off the front grill of my truck. So we've had that, and then we've had big, strong winds, and then 9 inches of snow, and then 3 more inches of snow.
I was going to ask because Klingenmeyer sent me a picture yesterday of all the snow. He had to close the schools. Like, did you close yesterday?
Nope.
Attaboy.
We had too many appointments yesterday. We had like 3 upgrade appointments, an intro and 2 intro an enrollment conference, something like that. So I said, no, we're not closing. And we I don't know how you guys do it. I'm sure it's pretty much when there's a hurricane warning by you guys. But for us, what we do is we just follow our Appleton area school district. And so if they're going to release early for weather or close after school activities for weather, then we're closed as well. It's just an easy system for us to use so that we don't have everybody trying to call in to see if we're having classes or not having classes and things like that. And they didn't cancel classes yesterday, but this morning was brutal. And there was a car, literally watched a car go on the on-ramp and then sail down 25 feet into the ditch and couldn't barely even see the car. Like, happened right in front of Mandy, actually.
Wow.
So,
wow.
'Tis the season, man. But it's February. I mean, it's almost March. We're gonna get through it. We'll be
good. We had it. It was rough here yesterday too. We hit 89 degrees.
It's hot for you.
Yeah, I mean, I was going outside. I didn't realize, and I had like a sweatshirt on, and I could have overheated.
Yeah, that's much.
Yeah, so I feel for you.
I know, man.
I know, man.
You guys don't know. He actually would prefer the sub-zero weather.
And you prefer the hot weather.
I do.
All right. So look, being that
we'll cut to the quick. No, just kidding.
Yeah, being that we'll probably have record attendance after starting 15 minutes late and streaming to one group. We appreciate anyone who's on watching. And basically the topic does not apply to, well, it does. It does apply to everybody because it's, should martial arts instructors get paid more? Well, first question is more than what? Second thing is most of us in the industry, most of us are owner operators, and you are a martial arts instructor. So this would apply even if you're a martial arts school owner that is the head instructor and the only person in the school. Do you think you deserve to be paid more? By the way, do you think teachers in the public school system deserve to be paid more? I think so. I absolutely think so. My wife was a teacher. I mean, she stopped teaching, 25 years ago, maybe, right? Or whatever it is. But she, she has some teacher friends, and I feel my kids are in public school. And there's a lot of teachers that are a joke in Orange County, Florida. And that sounds rude and mean, but when my daughter comes home and says like this is what they did in class, when she filmed it sometimes, and the teachers aren't teaching, and it's because I believe we don't pay people enough to get high level skilled people. And there is a shortage of teachers in Orange County, Florida, and maybe nationwide. There's a shortage of teachers. And when there's a shortage of teachers, you start to settle. You start to take anybody you can because we need teachers. And then it waters things down. So I want everyone to pay attention. When you settle and you're not compensating people enough, you can't get high level people in a specific field. You can't, because the high level people that are career oriented, that want to be successful, well, look, we all need to make a living in the world. We all need to make money. And if you have more money, there's that analogy, money doesn't make you happy, but if you're happy and you have money, it makes things easier. It absolutely does, right? So if you have somebody who's highly skilled, a great thinker, has charisma, has great personality, can teach, they're gonna find something else to thrive in if they come to work at a martial arts school and they can only make 30 grand a year or 40 grand a year or 50 grand a year. So do you, as martial arts professionals, martial arts instructors deserve to be paid more? Yes. And I'm going to throw it to you, Tass, so you can elaborate on this or put your 2 cents in, but
with an asterisk.
But well, here's the problem. Ron Kern, do you work with Ron?
Oh.
Is he? Yeah. He put a post out there and says, really, what is a McDojo, right? I think it was him that put that post out. I think there was a post, what is a McDojo? Well, the problem is, can you define, quote, what we stereotypical call a McDojo? Yeah, you can. Like, there's some stuff out there that's just not reality and just weird and whatever. I mean, there just is. But a lot of people believe schools that make a lot of money, if you're making a lot of money, if you're charging and this, that, and the other, you're a McDojo. The thing is in our schools, and I say this to make the point, everyone in this company, and we have over 90 employees, team members, have the ability to make well into the 6 figures as a martial arts professional. And maybe that's why I keep people 30 years, 25 plus years, 20 years plus, a bunch of people at 20 years plus, a dozen or more that's been with me 25 years. And we have one, now 2 actually, that's been 30 years, because I want good people that can deliver a good service and product to the masses to scale a business, right? Can I do that if I was paying 30 grand a year? I could not. The people that I have, and Tass, you know the people, they wouldn't be here. They'd have to go find something else because they are more than qualified to do that. And so you can't pay yourself or instructors more money until you accept the fact and you're okay with making more money for the business without sacrificing quality of instruction and providing even more value than whatever you provide now. This is the sign. Remember we talked about this?
Oh, there, yeah.
There.
It's an interesting conversation because, man, I don't remember how many years back I'd have to go to remember this, and it doesn't matter.
Probably a year or 2.
With my dementia happening, no, with my old age, yeah, probably last week. It's not funny. We're testing my mom for that, by the way. So if I start forgetting things, it's hereditary.
Way to bring the show down, Tass.
It's hereditary, just so you know. What was I saying? So years and years ago, I remember listening to martial arts consultants, right, talk about the fact that you can get anybody, pay anybody $10 an hour to teach martial art classes. And this was the concept was about, systemizing your business as an example, and being able to have the systems driven and potentially even go to multiple units. And again, this was years and years ago. And it was interesting. I mean, you look at that, and I listened or am reminded of that today and going, that couldn't be further from the truth. You can pay somebody $10 an hour to teach classes for you, right? And by the way, some of you may have people that you pay $8, $10, $12, $15 an hour to that are phenomenal, right? You may have that. But the reality is you will not keep them forever, right? Because they have to have a life. Now, are there the anomalies? Sure. There's the stay-at-home mom or the stay-at-home dad, and someone that maybe there was a trust fund, they got a lot of money, they just do this for fun, but that's not duplicatable in your business, right? And people need to also feel purpose and things like that. So finding or creating great people, whether that's instructors or program directors or assistants, whoever it is, they need to be compensated, right? Now, there's a difference between performing and being compensated, as opposed to, well, you said that instructors should make more money. So when you hire an instructor, you should automatically hire them and pay them more money out of the gates. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think it's what you're saying either. But it's what we need to understand, because some people think naturally, well, then instructors should just get paid more. Like a school teacher should just get paid more money. By the way, we see the same thing in college, right? We're a local college, University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. And there's been times where kids going to college and there's a note on the door, no classes today. Like, that's the level of professionalism we have, is there's a note on the door. By the way, it's happened more than once from this instructor, right? From this college professor. And so people like that don't deserve to make more money, right? Or people that don't put the time, effort, and energy in their craft. And sometimes that becomes subjective. Like, well, no, I do a lot. Okay, well, we might all do a lot, right? But what are you doing, and what are the activities that you're doing? Are they producing results, and what are the results that you're getting? And this is why you have to have things that are quantifiable. I had someone that asked me the other day to help them in their business, and it wasn't really it was outside the martial arts realm. It was a business that he's involved in, and he wanted to connect me with the owner to help with him. And the owner's like, what can I learn from, some karate guy? And he's like, I just don't want to do it. I said, great, because I'm not going to work with somebody who doesn't want the help or doesn't think that they can be helped, because at the end of the day, business is business. And I said to him, I said, let me ask you this. Why doesn't he? Well, how can he help? Well, here's a question. Well, what is it that the owner wants to accomplish in his business? Like, what are the stats? What are the numbers? He goes, well, he doesn't keep stats. He doesn't keep numbers. I said, okay, well, I could help this guy 100 different ways. But because if you can't track something, because if I was willing to work with this particular person, how would we know if we improved if there was nothing to measure against, right? And that's where I'm going with this. I think is, instructors, yes, we should pay instructors great, that can produce great results, but those results have to be measurable as well. And we see those things happen when you when you lose a great instructor for whatever reason, or B, you bring a great instructor on, you can see a bump in some of those metrics if you're paying attention and watching those things.
Right. Attrition rates, right? Conversion rates on trials, all that stuff. But here's the other thing. How many years does somebody study to become a martial arts instructor? Most of us, it's longer than you would go to college, right? So there's a skill set there. Number one. Number two, this is important for everybody. The question is do martial arts instructors deserve to be paid more? And a martial arts instructor could be the business owner. So I don't care if you're the owner or you're just an instructor. It's irrelevant, right? Do you deserve to be paid more? The answer is also yes, as long as you know what the job description is. The job description is not just teach great classes. If all you can do is teach a great class, Tass said it. You can have a phenomenal instructor at $10 an hour. And when they leave, I may be able to replace them with another $10 an hour person who could just run a great class. But that's not what the job description is. And until we understand that, the job description is grow the business. That's the job description. You got to grow the business. And part of that growing the business, teach great classes, grow and teach high-level martial arts instruction. That's just part of it. Build rapport with all the customers on and off the mat. Help recruit new students. Know how to take care of a walk-in, a phone call, an enrollment, a renewal, an upgrade. There is so much more to it than just teaching a great class. And I think the problem in our industry is why the majority of schools suffer, or it's feast or famine a lot of times. I don't want to say suffer, but right. People justify, they have full-time jobs and this is their passion and they have martial arts or whatever it is. But the reason why some schools can have it all, high quality, great staff, great service for their customers, and great financial gain for their business, is because first and foremost, we're martial artists. And the majority of us open a school or get into this because we love teaching martial arts or we love martial arts. And it ends there. They never understand that if you want to scale, you are now working in a business. And if you want to scale, it's so much more than just teaching great martial arts. So much more. And we have to have that understanding, and we have to accept that if we want to scale. And Tass, you hear me say this to the elite clients, and then people don't know, but if you have a business or you work in a business, let's say, well, I own a business. I own the martial arts school, and I have an instructor. What is their incentive to do all of that? The incentive is the more we could scale this company, the more opportunity they have to grow and the more financial gain they have. And there's two specific things that I believe we should try to provide for not only ourselves, but everybody else. And that is a financial career, like where I can do really well financially in a career, and an opportunity and a path to have a work-life balance. A lot of times the owners have a path for themselves for financial and work-life balance, because you want to hire someone so you could leave early tonight, you can go to your kid's Little League game or whatever it is you want to do, because you have somebody maybe at $10, $12 or whatever that's got the classes, they're running the classes. But what about them? If you don't want to do that for the rest of your life or be strapped, maybe you do, but I would think that if you're a parent and your kid has a play, a dance recital, a Little League game or whatever, I would think that you would want the ability to be there as opposed to having to teach tonight. I would think.
Right.
But why would you think that the person you have teaching eventually won't get there as well? Right? And then what is their path for work-life balance and financial gain? So, do they deserve to be paid more? If you truly understand the job description, absolutely 100% they do. 100%.
Yeah. If they understand and if they execute, right? That's the thing. They have to execute. Right. Agreed. I mean, it's an interesting, I think everybody would say, if you could find great people, you could expand your business very quickly, right? And I don't disagree with that statement at all. However, placing an ad for a chief instructor, full-time instructor, head instructor, martial art instructor, whatever you want to call it, wanted, starting pay $12 to $15 an hour is not attracting necessarily that type of a person, right? And so, and then this becomes the chicken and egg problem, right? Do you pay somebody to come in and pay him the big money to come in, right? And then to try and lift and build the school up, or are you going, well, I'm going to wait until the school gets to a certain level so I can afford to then bring somebody in and pay them that amount of money, to be able to do that, right? And I'll tell you, like, not just from that perspective, but even looking back, some of the moments when we were really spot on, because I think all businesses go through ebbs and flows, right? And just looking at some of the peak times for our business is when we had the most full timers on board. It was we were doing the best, right? Now that's not always the case, by the way, but that's where we were really crushing things. And then we went to it and split those people and went to multiple locations. And as you always say, right, you got to be ready for those things. And because there's going to be a natural from school 1 to school 2, you're not going to stay here at school 1. There's going to be a little bit of a dip when you go, because the focus starts to divide, the team's been divided a little bit. So those things can be, there can be some challenges there. We can overcome those challenges, but that's what I've noticed. And so, if you're thinking about it, right, you got to have the right, and by the way, have the right people, right? Having the right people is the key. This is not a whatever this is, right? A Zoom, a podcast, whatever, to go back and say, hey, go back and just start paying your people more. There has to be a reason that you're going to do that as well.
And by the way, most of you can't afford to now just bring people on at a high pay or do that. So how do you do it? Right. And then we'll get to this question. Do you see that question, Tess?
Yeah, I do. And I think, listen, if you're in a mature business, martial arts business, right? There's formulas and ways to do this. If you're not in a mature business, and even if you are, there are times in your business that I would suggest that there's a salary. I'm giving you a deeper answer to the question, right? Because we could say, yeah, well, ideally you'd want your payroll to be X% of your gross revenue, as an example, right? But a deeper answer to the question would be, as far as I'm talking about the bonus plan specifically, right? For bonuses for people, is you would incentivize them based off of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I give you 2 different ideas and mentalities of this. Number 1 is a bonus is for going above and beyond, right? So let's just keep that in mind. So if you normally enroll 5 students in your school, historically, that's what you've done. Well, I wouldn't bonus somebody on every enrollment that comes to the school. I may bonus them on everybody after 5 enrollments, as an example, or starting with number 6. And I may retro it back if they hit those numbers, right? Because a bonus is doing extra. Number 2 with that is I would make sure that anything that I do is defined in time. So for this month, this quarter, this is what we're going to do, because you don't ever want to strap yourself in to a particular bonus structure long term, because then it feels like something's being taken away, right? That would be the second thing that I would say. And then the last thing, so I actually had 3. The last is this. Sometimes bonusing the result can work really well. However, you may want to consider trying to bonus the process, because the process will actually get you to the result. So those are some different ways to think about bonuses.
And just a couple things. So first I want to say, let's go back to, if you can't afford to pay somebody out of the gate, the best way to do that is you hire someone internally that you've been teaching for years, and you got to paint a picture and a vision of where you want to take this business, and you want to take them along for the ride. That's how I have Mr. Nick Peterman for 31 years or 32 years now, or whatever it is that he's been with me, because he believed in me and he believed in our vision. And once he was there, people saw him, and then people started realizing it's real. It can happen, right? And now we have a lot of people that are in high executive type positions where all the younger people know there's a pathway, there's a corporate structure to grow in this company. As far as this, here's another thing where a lot of people go wrong. Have you ever enrolled 10 students just to find out next month you still have the same active students? So you got to be careful that if you bonus somebody, for example, on, hey, if we can get 10 new students, because you normally get 5. If we can get 10 new students this month, I'm going to give you $500 or whatever it is. Well, you could get 10 new students, but you lost 10 students somewhere. So you just gave away free money, right? So I like to do active counts. I like to do it over, he said time. I like to do it average over a quarter, like a 3-month period that we averaged X amount of active. So I'm making this up. If your school has 100 active students and you just can't get over the hump, hey, I'll tell you what, we got 6 months to try to get to 125 active, over a 3-month period. If in 6 months we get over the 125, we still can, I'll carry over the 2 months to see if we can get it done and average over 125 active. Well, I know if I do that, there is net gain and profitability to the company. You're not typically going to go from 100 to 125. And if you do, great. And if you can average that over a quarter, your business made a lot more money. We can afford to pay someone on a bonus. So just make sure that if you bonus people because you need students, and we do that sometimes, that you're paying attention to attrition, because you don't want to bonus just to bonus people and lose them on the back end, and then you're just throwing away money. The other thing you can do is base it on your gross revenue. Gross revenue is not profit. So my people in the schools, they all know the numbers. They all know the gross revenue, all of them. They have a stat sheet. They don't realize, they don't know how much it costs to break even in the school. And when you talk about a ratio salary to bonus, you all need to identify what is the break even in my martial arts school. That is with me as an owner getting a salary. So if you're working in your school and you pay yourself $3,000 a month, I'm just saying, I don't know, right? Could be 5, could be 10, could be 20. But if you pay yourself $3,000 a month and your rent's $5,000 a month, well, we know that's just $8,000 there. And then there's insurance and phones and, equipment and merchandise and, all that stuff. So, and then the payroll to your people. So maybe it costs me $15,000 a month to break even. Well, and by the way, if I've been hovering around $15,000 a month, I may say to my team or my people, hey, we got to grind. I may need you to work Saturdays. If you want to take this on or have this opportunity, we'll have to work Saturdays and work a booth, and we got to recruit, and we got to do whatever we can to get new students. But if we can get the average to $18,000 a month in a 3-month period, average, there's $1,000 bonus. Well, how do I know that'll work? Well, because I've been surviving on 15. And then if I can get it to 16, 16.5, 17, 17.2, 18, and then maintain that for 3 months, you have plenty of money to share to your people, right? So you got to look at it. And the other thing too is also, like Tass said, we don't like payroll to go over 27% of gross revenue. So if you're doing $10,000 a month, I don't like to pay out more than $2,700 in payroll. That does not include an owner draw or dividend. It would include you as an owner if you're the acting chief instructor and you get a salary. That will include you, right? But at the end of the day, you can find out what, where that 27 or 30% is, because that's skewed a little too for some people, because your rent is a percentage of your gross. But the more you gross, your rent is fixed for the most part. You might have yearly bumps, but it's fixed. So the more you gross, the lower your payroll percentage goes down. Or I'm sorry, your rent percentage goes down, which what we like to do is anytime we grow, I may allot a little bit more in percentage wise for my people. I try to pay my people as much as I possibly can. And if there's extra, Silverman, my business partner, Frank Silverman, he has a phrase, and you've heard it: pigs get slaughtered. Don't be a pig. Meaning we're not getting greedy. So with 9 locations in Orlando, we take the least amount of money compared to our chief instructors or managers per location. The difference is we get a little piece times 9, right? So could I take a bigger piece of each school? I can, but then I wouldn't be able to pay my people more. Now, why do I pay them the lion's share? Because I want work-life balance. I want work-life balance. I don't want to have to jump in and start working at a school. So because of that, I got to pay for that. But because I pay for that, I get highly skilled and highly professional people. It's a circle. Therefore, we do well. So I hope that answers that question.
Right on. Yeah, and you made a great point there too, right? A lot of us, if you're not in tune with those numbers, right, and you're not looking at your P&Ls as an example, and you don't understand that your rent as a percentage becomes less percent the more you gross, Well, those extra percentage points can then be used to divvy up, right? As an example, you can be the pig and take all of those extra points, right? Percentage points, and keep them for yourself as net profit, right? Or you can say, hey, look, I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to give some of this back to the team and to the employees as well.
And by the way, it's a figure of speech being a
Yeah.
pig. But here's the reality of it. A lot of you have struggled or are struggling financially. And when you finally start growing, it's natural to say, thank God, right? I can get some extra money. I can start saving. I can do it. Or you can do a little bit of both, or you can invest in your business and your people. And it's the analogy of one step back, two steps forward. Mr. Nick Peterman's been using this week, with their team. That's growth. You take one step back to take two steps forward. Sometimes that one step back, it could be a longer period of time than you want it to be, and you get nervous about it.
Right.
But when you've been doing it as long as I have, I don't worry about taking a step back. I know we're going to take two steps forward because I know where I am today compared to 30 some years ago when I started. And I can tell you, there were a lot of times where we took 5 steps back. You know what I mean? I mean, we had those, but the scale is like this,
Right.
it's on a growth overall when you look at it over a long period of time. But when you're in that step back process, it's frustrating. It's scary. Most people quit. They give up. We get depressed. We get, discouraged. I'm telling you, stay the path. But the problem is, and this isn't negative, guys. I lived it. Shane lived it. All our clients that are in our program lived it. The majority of you don't know how to do it. You think you know, which is the most dangerous thing. You think you know, but you're just spinning your wheels. Like you're just spinning, right? And the other big fallacy is, we're doing great. Tass, honest to God, like this, this is a lesson for everybody, just to make the point. Some people be like, well, we're killing it. We're crushing it. We do $50,000 a month in revenue. We know what we're doing. We're doing 50, 60 grand a month. How many clients jumped on board with you that were doing 50,000 or more a month that thought they were doing great, that are now doing over $100,000 a month?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that stifles growth. When you're comfortable, when you think you're doing great, it's not about what you're doing. It's about what you're capable of doing. And if you're not doing that, then you don't know, or you're not executing, right? So you keep that in mind.
100%. And then there's the majority of I'll say us, right? I'll include me in this. I used to do this. I don't do this anymore. But I would say the majority of people will hear numbers of, my God, 50,000 a month. I wish I could be doing 50,000 a month at my school. Well, okay, great. But you also don't understand all the ins and outs of that, right? I've seen this before, right? I'm not saying this is true, right? But I've seen it happen before, where a school's grossing $1 million a year and they're netting less than $100,000 a year. I've seen schools gross $350,000, $400,000 a year and they're netting over $100,000 a year, right? Plus. So you see it on both ends, right? You see the small school that's taking home a great net profit, right? You see big schools and that are taking home small net profits. But you see big schools that are taking home massive net profits, and you see small schools that are losing their rear end as well. So it's all perspective.
Hey, by the way, just on that point, not mentioning names,
right?
But you have a client, one location. What did they net?
Well, I'll just say the percent. I mean, the accountant was like, he freaked out when he called me after he talked to his accountant. The net was 69%, almost 70%. And this is a school that grosses over $100,000 a month, right? So
a month,
right? So yeah, pretty good net. So yeah, man, I mean, it's the same thing as hearing somebody signs up 50 students a month. Well, how do they do that? Well, here's what you don't know. They're losing 53 students a month. And so if you're signing up 10 and you're losing 2, you're crushing that school, right? Like from an enrollment and a retention standpoint. And this is where, you know, I hate always saying it, because I'm all of a sudden I'm that guy. Like, there's got to be the stats guy. He's always got to be about talking about numbers. But that's how we steer. That's how we drive the ship. Is you got to know the numbers.
I would challenge anybody. And how does this relate to paying people more? You can't do this unless you have a good team. And you can't have a long-term good team unless you compensate them well. And there's no argument.
Right.
If you hire somebody at 17, 18 years old, and you're like, they've been with me 10 years, and you know, they're happy making $2,000 a month. They're still only 28 years old. They're not going to stay till 38 when they have a family and 2 kids making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Is there exceptions? There's always exceptions, but the majority, you're not, right? So let's. I was going to say something, but question about opening a second location. My obstacles right now. So I don't know if you're asking what are your obstacles, like what are the obstacles to opening a second location, or you have obstacles right now. But the obstacles of opening a second location, everybody thinks that it's more stress and more this and more that. It is when you don't do it right. So typically I like to open a second location with a chief instructor and a program director, full-time salaried people. But when I'm running a school and I have 2 people that I can send and open a school with, I will not open a school until I have 4 people there. And then I will send these 2 to open a second school, because I just assume one of them is going to quit, leave, get fired, dragged, whatever. And I have bench strength to plug in someone else. The other thing I won't do is disrupt the current school with the main team. I won't take the main guy and move him now over to another school. I won't do that. And the third thing is, you have to have strong systems where you are not the biggest link in the system. Meaning your main school's doing so well, and you'll convince yourself, you know, I'm not even teaching the classes. I'm just in the lobby. I'm in the office. That's a big link. You got to know that it can still perform, not run, but grow when you're not there, because you're not going to be able to be in 2 places at once. So those are the things that you got to really focus on when opening a second school. And then what are your top 3 things to do as an owner to keep your staff members longer, aside from paying more? Very simple. We have a corporate structure. It's called the Pathway to Success. They see exactly their route to growth in this career. So there is no ceiling on compensation. There's no ceiling. You're not going to work in my company, get to $100,000 a year, and then know there's nowhere to go financially. So there's no ceiling. They see that. It's on paper, and it's positional. Number 2, there are positional, what do you call it?
Job descriptions.
Job descriptions, but growth opportunities. Where, for example, in a martial arts school, most of you probably teach 3 or 4. I'm not saying what time you get in your school, but you probably teach classes from 3 or 4 o'clock till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. They need to see with these positional promotions, that's the word I was looking for, that it's not only financially more, like you have a higher ability to grow financially, but you're not tied to 9 o'clock at night every night, where you will never be home for dinner with your kids and your family. Like, so there's different job descriptions and responsibilities with a growth plan. Number 3, we provide health benefits for our people. We pay for a small life insurance policy for all of our people. We have a dental plan for our people. We have a vacation package for our people. Those are career, I was going to ask, this is the question I was going to ask earlier. So the top 3 things, there's your 3 things, right? Financial, work-life balance, and then benefits, I think, and positional growth, right? Listen.
There's the 4th. There's the 4th.
There you go. I asked some of my directors, right? Or our vice president of business operations, who taught in a school for years, Mr. Peterman, right? Hey, Mr. Nick Peterman, if I paid you $200,000 a year base salary, would you go back into school and just be the chief instructor? His answer was no, sir.
Right.
He's past that now.
And
so if all you do is compensate, but still tell somebody, and by the way, Mr. Nick is in his mid-40s, right? He started with me when he was 14, working, right? I've known him since he was like 9. No, he won't do it because that's not where he wants to be. So if all you do is keep paying somebody more, but there's no work-life balance or positional opportunity, I think it could potentially be temporary, that eventually someone will leave. But my question to all of you, and then I'll look at this. My question to all of you is, who's your biggest competition for getting new students? Who's your competition? When you're recruiting students, is your competition the martial arts school down the street? You know, the BJJ, the other martial arts school? Most of you by now, you've learned this. We don't worry about that. Our biggest competition, if we work with kids, is soccer and baseball and, wrestling and whatever sports these kids play, right? Because that's your competition. Are they going to do that? Are they going to do karate? Some people do both, whatever. Okay. My question to you is who's your biggest competition when you want to recruit or retain career-minded professionals? Who's your competition? It's not the martial arts school down the street, guys. That's not your competition. It's the engineers. It's the whoever, Microsoft, IBM, whoever. It's the professional industries that are out there. So you got to be able to compete with that.
That's right.
And most of us in this industry don't, because we can't, unless you really understand the systems and you grind.
So I would give, because I think a lot of there's, and I believe I know who was asking this question. That's great. There are others of you that maybe this answer, maybe these 3 things will resonate with you until you can, or get to the point where you can offer insurance and benefits and the vacations, right? And those types of things. But I would say, the 3 things, number 1 would be recognition, right? They need recognition on a regular basis. This is a little bit different spin on this, but constant recognition. What's that? I'm not good at that. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Constant recognition of what it is that they're doing, right? And being a good finder. It's always easy to be, it's interesting how we can be a good finder on the floor for our students. I did this with my own kids. I could be great at correct praise at the martial arts school, and I was not that way as a father at home, right? So sometimes we can do that with our students, but we forget to do that with our instructors. So always recognize, whether that's how great of a job they're doing, for showing up with a great attitude, whether it's a birthday, anniversary, recognize, right? That goes a long way. I think it was Napoleon Hill that said, give me enough ribbon and I'll conquer the world, right? And the concept was, if I recognize enough people, they will continue to do whatever we want and need them to do. So, but when I say that, please understand, make sure that the recognition is genuine, right? That's what you want to do, is make sure it's genuine, number 1. Number 2, training. Here's why. Competent people equal confident people. The fastest way to lose someone in your business is they don't understand how to do the job, and they don't understand what's being asked of them. And why? When somebody doesn't know what they're doing, they don't like what they're doing, because they don't know how to handle it. And we haven't given the tools and resources to do that. So you got to train your people. And I know that this is the ongoing dilemma. Well, they're in high school. Figure it out. Like, do it a Saturday, do it on a Sunday, do it over the summertime, put it on an app. I don't care what you do. Figure out a way to make that happen. And I think the third thing, right, is fun. You got to have fun with your team, and you can't take yourself so serious. And if you can do those things, you can recognize your people, train your people, have fun with your people, that's going to carry you a long, long way. Because if they're working someplace that they're recognized, they're confident and competent in what they do, and they're having a great time, the pay thing that will come. We can get there, but this will buy us some time as we build the school together. And so then you can go into the 3 things that Metzger was talking about.
And answer this question. The question is, should I find a closer location that has a higher median income but a smaller population, or find a farther location that has a much bigger population with about the same median income? Well, I don't know, because I don't know what the median income is where you're at currently. I will tell you this, though. I got our broker, our real estate broker, to give me demographics for every one of my locations, because this is how we find new locations. I said, well, let me get the demographics of my current locations. And I will tell you that it wasn't population of kids, which I thought, because I always said I like to open up where there's elementary schools in the area. I like to open up at in a high-end grocery store center, which that's still the same. But I basically can take those demographics based on median income, and it aligned with highest grossing schools, almost in order from 1 to 9, based on median income, not population. It was incredible. So with that data, I would like to have both. I would like to have a high population, but I can tell you that average household income, if we can find an average household income of $80,000 or higher, that is like a unbelievable sweet spot for us. It was 80,000 and higher that like really made the difference. And by the way, we're in Orlando, right? So I have schools where there's a household income of like 45,000 around some of our schools. But it literally went in order. We did a 1 mile, 3 mile, 5 mile. And really it's the 1 and 3 mile of household income that really made the difference in how our schools perform. So with that said, I would like both, but I would probably go for the higher household income. But also I would tell you, I would not move like 25 miles away. I wouldn't do that. If I'm opening a second location, we in Orlando, our schools are on average about 3.5 miles apart on average. So that might sound crazy, but that's the density of Orlando. And I'd rather be my own competition and be able to manage those more efficiently with our directors and stuff. We did open one on the west side of town because that's where we want to expand. But my point is we've been open 2 years. I have yet to see that school. It's 45 minutes, 40 minutes away. So it's just not convenient for anybody, but we're going to start getting a footprint there. But I've never seen it. We've been open 2 years. It's just, so you don't want to do something that's so far, because if an instructor calls out or you need somebody else, well, that person's got to drive. So I wouldn't recommend going too far.
Yeah. And look, there's a lot that goes into that. The whole triangulation, process for opening up multiple, like if you can't find a better demographic or median income this way, can you find one this way or this way or this way? So you can open closer. There's a lot of different things on that, but I'm not a big fan of opening up first of all, should you open a second location? I don't know the answer. That wasn't the question, right? Because we don't open second locations just to make more money. We open them because there's a need, because you heard Metzger talk, they're 4 deep, right, on people that they can put in. So in those cases, back to the payroll question earlier, by the way, you'll see payroll percentages be higher. There's reasons on why we do everything, whether that's insurance, whether that's getting ready to open multiple locations. So some of these questions that are being answered, we're answering them at face value and not knowing any of the other things and moving parts that potentially are going on. But number one, don't open a second location just because you want to make more money. And number two, I'm not a big fan of opening a second location so far away that I'm starting with literally just white belt classes. I like to be able to pull from an already successful location so I can open up more classes, all my classes. So what? So I have social proof, and I can see, and people can see, well, here's what Black Belt Club is. We already have people that are in those programs, and we allow people to come and transfer over, and they can try it, right? But they're going to have to figure out a home. That's where they're going to be. And then we know this school's already generating students. So we know we can replace those people. And now we start with this crop of people. And then if, God forbid, anything went to hell in a handbasket, you'd have a way better opportunity of, if school A or B did something catastrophic, did happen, or you had to close, it's way easier to merge those two schools back together as opposed to being 25 or 30 miles apart. So that's the long dissertation on
that. There are a lot of factors here. I'm in mid-Michigan. Our income is about 45K, 50,000 population, still feeling effects of COVID. In what way?
What way?
Runny nose, cough, what way? kidding. Thank you, Tess.
I knew that was good.
That's called long COVID. If you're still feeling the effects of COVID.
I still can't smell for 4 years later.
I've been here for 25 years, almost wiped out from COVID. Like the city, the town's been almost wiped out from COVID. I get it. I think that was kind of, I mean, look, take a look at, we have schools in California right near where they were like shut down for years from COVID. I mean, that was horrible.
First,
not only that,
open.
they just got hit with fires and I mean, but listen, I don't want to sound insensitive, but if I don't say this to you, the only other response would be like, oh yeah, man, that stinks. Yeah, that's tough. It is what it is. I have schools in California that had record years, that had a record month in January. They're right in the area of these fires where their clients were affected. We have to adapt and we have to understand systems, and we got to work harder. Yeah, a lot of our local businesses closed as well. I get it. Let me just say this. I'm going to repeat this. You know how many martial arts schools closed to COVID? A lot. How do I know that? Because Century Martial Arts we're like family with Century Martial Arts. I know how many accounts disappeared. I'm very close with a lot of the billing companies. I know how many accounts just disappeared and they closed. Hundreds of martial arts schools closed. A lot of the people, if not the vast majority, they blamed COVID. COVID made it very difficult. But how can we say I couldn't stay open because of COVID if there's still a martial arts school that's still open in my town that didn't close? What did they do different? Now, you could say, well, they have a lot of money and they have a job and they kept it open. That's for some people, but there's also people that they just had a martial arts school. A lot of schools around them closed. A lot of the schools around them said COVID, COVID, COVID. Well, were they immune to COVID? Or did they know how to adapt and adjust to get through COVID? And even when small businesses closed, I understand that. But to thrive in a martial arts school, even with a population of 50,000, right? All you need is 250 people to really be profitable and to provide a good career. 250 in a location. Do I want you to have 500? Sure. But if you could get 200 people, there are 200 people in your town that would want to do martial arts, whether they realize that or not, that could afford to. There are. And we know that, but we have to go out into the community and show the value, because we need to know, how do I get people to join martial arts that aren't thinking about martial arts? That's the people we need to get, because the people that are thinking about, well, I want to do martial arts, I want to do martial arts, well, they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to look into you or someone else. That's not the people I need to hit. I need to get the people that are not thinking about martial arts to somehow show them the value of martial arts, to make them now think, wow, you know what? We should try martial arts. If you understand the systems and the concepts and how to do that, you're not going to be affected as much. Were we affected by COVID? Of course we were. But I can read off my stats. We still profited. We still grew. We didn't grow. We were down, but nobody got laid off in our company. Nobody got laid off. Nobody got salary cuts, right? We adapted, right? So it's not easy. I feel I could have a better impact in a bigger area with more income, but not sure. Sure, if you have a more populated area and better income, of course you can. Absolutely.
And I would say this:
bigger areas is over an hour away. That would be almost a death to your business, though. If you open a second location an hour away, that could be very detrimental to your business.
Here's what I'm going to say without knowing a lot of context, right? This is can be a dangerous situation, but based off of what you shared with us already, right? 120 members before, 50 members now. 50 members, you don't need to be open every day of the week. So if you want to, let me just say this. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. You've heard that expression before. You probably taught that expression to your students, but you're in this unique scenario where you don't have 200 students and you're looking at a place an hour away or 45, whatever it is away. You have 50 students. You could probably do a good offering of classes, right? And not have not have a big commitment for 50 students to teach 50 students in your school, right? The schedule can be pretty compact. So what that would allow you to do, if you want to, this is what I would do. And by the way, I think Orlando, to a point, did this on the West Side. If you want to experiment and you want to play, then go do a school program, open at a community center, do a two-month, 8-week or 12-week program, and see how many people you can get involved. And you might do 2 or 3 or 4 of those over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, where you could do it as a 1 day a week potentially or 2 day a week program. And if you start seeing a bunch of people flood in, you may decide, I wouldn't have it at the same location, but you may decide that you just want to close the first location and that becomes your new home. Because we've also said this to people before. If you can't make it work where you're at, then and if it's really that bad, then move, right? And that's the same example here, is that, okay, well then move. But I wouldn't do that without beta testing and trying that out first. And if you're a one-person operation, again, I don't know, but I'm assuming with 50 students, you're probably a one person with maybe maybe an assistant or maybe some volunteers. But I would think that would be a much easier play for you to go experiment in that area. Then you won't have regret. You'll know, like, hey, we market that area. Yeah, we're crushing it there. And you may have a decision to make on what you're going to do. But now you have options. You can either stay there, or at the end of, it's important not to have it as an ongoing program, right? A 12-week program. So you can always cut it off if you ever need to do that. So,
and by the way, I just scrolled up. I read that, my goodness, that you had 120 students and now you're at 50. But here's what you have to understand. COVID and the world and the economy and everything that goes on outside of your martial arts school will either make things easier or harder. So whatever you were doing before COVID or whenever that was to get to 120 students, the world's different today. Interest rates are different. Everything's different. You can't do that and get to 120 students. This is why I talk about you need to adapt, you need to grow, you need to systemize, and most people don't know what they don't know. We think in our minds when we're in our little box, right? Well, I got to 120 before, I could do it again. You can, but maybe not in the same environment. Maybe you can't, right? Unless there are things that you just don't know, right? And that's where we come into play, right? So
right on.
So yeah, listen, I wouldn't do part-time in another location. I wouldn't do that. I mean, that's not like, a lot of times we want full-time revenue with part-time hours, right? It says I'm open 4 days a week. I was thinking I could do a part-time in another location. I wouldn't do that when I have 50, like I'm not even close to maximizing my first location. Get that maximized, really profitable and systemized. Then we would talk about a second.
To my point, right, is I'm just succumbing to the idea, like, yeah, it's my area, man. I just can't. If that is in fact the truth, and I was going to say the excuse, but if that is what our belief is, I don't know that you're ever going to get back to 120. If you believe that area over there you're going to skyrocket, then guess what? It might just be BS. It might just be your belief system. And if you go over an hour away and you put a 1 day a week program in for 12 weeks and you see it score, maybe it's because you just believe that was going to happen and you did more stuff to get that. And maybe this other place will always just be kind of a dead zone, right? I don't know. And this is why it's always hard to have these conversations, because they're kind of one-sided through the screen. But if you took the conviction that you have, right, you already, to Metzger's point, you already have a starting point. You already have 50 people. Now, you may think that that's horrible, but there's a lot of people that start from zero, right? They're starting from zero. You're starting with 50. So we have a base. Get this conviction, get this enthusiasm, and go out there and go make it happen.
Here's the question. Watch. Here's the question. Because if it is a belief system,
right?
Gold medal here. Listen, here's the question for you. Tass and I are going to go, and Tass and I are going to open a school across the street from you. We're going to open a school across the street from you. Do you think in a year from now, we're going to only have 50 students in that school? If you believe, yeah, you guys aren't getting over 50, that's a strong belief system. But if you're like, no, you guys will probably have 200. Well, there you go. Then why can't you? Right? But I don't know what you believe. But I can tell you this. Anyone watching this, all 12 of you, I don't care where you're at. If we open a school across the street from you, I promise you, within the first year, we're going to be at 150 students within the first year. And I say that because I don't know how rural or how whatever, but I promise you, we would be. Now, maybe that's my belief system. Will that get me farther than if I'm like, oh man, I don't think I can get to 50 students here, right? But I just know I've been in this business too long. I don't believe there's a place on earth, maybe out in the middle of the Sahara, maybe I would not get to 150 students.
You'd have free water would be your marketing.
If there's a grocery store in your area and there's at least 2 elementary schools, a middle school and a high school, 150 students.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
Anyway, well,
good.
That's my time, folks.
That's time. No, it was great. It was great being back. Sorry we took so long to get everything figured out and get back on. It was some tech issues, but so be it. We made it.
And we plan on being here in 2 weeks, but it might take a week to get the tech issues going again, fixed again. So thank you. Somebody appreciates our candor, Tass.
There we go. That's not normal. So thank you.
Right off the bat, you're ahead of the curve.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, ask Mandy to what is this? Is that with a good supply of money, or are you doing this with a little income? Mr. Tim, that's with a startup capital of $1 million minimum. I'm kidding. No, that is with very little money, very little, because what I do and what I did, and I lived it. And by the way, what we have is we even have a program that's going to be available for people. If you want to do this to feed your school, we didn't put it out there yet. I look at my team here because we didn't put it out there yet. But when I got my start, I rented out cafeteria space in elementary schools. And by the way, it didn't cost me anything. And I charged $4 a class, pay as you go. And I offered a 12-week course, 12-week program. And what I did is over from August or September, I ran a 12-week course. And then in late January, early February, I ran a 12-week course that took me to the end of the school year. And I built up a base of 85 students. When summer hit and the schools were closing, I opened up my first school of 989 square feet, and I opened the doors with 80 students right out of the gate. Opened the doors with 80 students. And that was from 24 weeks of courses. So 24 weeks. So you look at it that way, that's less than 6 months, right? Now it was over the cake because I stopped over December. I waited until late January, early February to start once the schools got back in session. But opened the school with 80 students, got to 100 within 2 months from there. We just opened a school. Now it did cost us some money because of the build out, but we opened up a school. The one I told you is 45 minutes out with 0 students because it's 45 minutes away. So we didn't have any students transfer. Went from 0 to 200 students in the first year. Got to over 200 students in the first year. And in that first year, they averaged $36,000 a month as an average gross in that first year. When you took all the revenue and divided it by 12, their average gross income was $36,000 a year. And that was starting with 0 students, like in January. We do not do after school pickup or anything like that. I don't think, guys, you're sitting here. We didn't spend a lot of money in advertising and marketing over there. It was all from the program and just being in the schools, right? Yeah. So no, you don't need a lot of money. The only time you need a lot of money is when you're opening a commercial space and you need to build out your school. there are ways you can market and get new students without spending a lot of money.
But you need grit and determination.
You need grind, man, because I'm not sitting here telling you it's easy. It's not easy. It's much easier when you know how to do it and you have a blueprint and you have systems. But no, I'm not going to come on here. By the way, one thing you've never heard Maya Elite say, Maya, never. You've heard other people say it. Enroll 20, 30, 40 students a month in your school. Let me show you. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that, right? You never, in 20-some years of Maya, you never heard us say, we're going to get you 20 new students a month or 30 new students a month. It's not real. It's, do you call it a lie? Do you call it sales? You call it bait? I don't know what you call it, but it's not real, because some of you are in rural areas. You will never enroll 20 students a month consistently. You won't do it. But that doesn't mean you can't be highly profitable and successful.
It doesn't mean we can't show you how to enroll 49 students in 1 hour.
That's correct. That is real. But I can't tell you you're going to consistently enroll 20 students a month. I would never say it, and I never have. So just be careful. The thing is when you hear stuff like that, you're so desperate for students, you want to jump on. But you guys are smarter than that. You know your area. Some of you can, but there's a lot of you that you're not in areas where you're going to consistently enroll 20 new students a month. Okay.
That's right. And most
Thank
of
you,
you
everyone.
don't
So
need to.
the answer is yes. You deserve to be paid more.
Whew, that was a long way to get there.
Thank you, Tass. All right. Well, Tass, on to the next meeting.
All right.
Hey, go ask Mandy to see the text.
Okay, I will. Good seeing you.
All right. Zelle, by the way, you can Zelle me.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good.
Yeah. Go
Well,
ask her.
she can sell you. If you'd send her the text, she'll sell you. I'm not going to sell you.
She said, look at how cute Mackie and Addie made the magazine. Did you see it?
Oh, no. You never signed the hold harmless or photo op?
Well, I said, how much does Addie make as a model for the magazine? 1,000, 5,000? I said, either way is fine. Zelle's perfect.
Oh, that's great. Love it. That's right.
No,
I'm sure
really
she got
cute.
a model release for him somewhere, so you're good.
No, it's awesome. All right, man. We'll touch base.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.